Near a faraway inlet in the foggiest part of town, there was a terrible place, the scrapyard. Though the red glow of the smelter shed scared most engines, the scrapyard still needed to be served. There was one engine who wasn't afraid of scrap. His name was Eric Daniel, but most called him Dan. He was an experimental electric battery engine made in 1858. Dan knew that he could always be replaced, so he worked very hard. Dan was such a hard worker that not even an engine thrice his size could do as much work as him. But Dan was never to work a full life. One late October eve, Dan was about to leave to his shed when an engine came in with a scrap delivery. "Hey Dan, I got a scrap engine and some rusted beams for you," said the engine. "On it, Cornelius," he replied as he got to work. Once he had sorted the beams and Cornelius was gone, what remained was a huge, red, faceless Atlantic. It was almost staring down at him. Dan soon shunted the scrap engine into a long siding up to the buffers. He couldn't help but feel uncomfortable around the engine. He soon backed away from the switch when he heard a squeaking noise, getting faster and louder every second, until he saw the scrap engine approaching him fast. Dan ran back out of the smelter shed as fast as possible, with the scrap engine following close behind. Dan ran so far from the smelter shed that when he stopped, it was pitch black outside in the forest he stopped in. Dan couldn't see the scrapyard or the engine that chased him. He thought he was safe. Oh, how wrong he was. Dan soon started heading forward, but due to the darkness, he couldn't see anything. And he couldn't tell that he went down the wrong path, away from home. Soon Dan saw lights around him. The lights were dim and red as his paint. He didn't know where he was and was going to go back. But then the lights around him suddenly became brighter. He soon saw a turntable underneath himself, and a group of people were all around him. One man from the crowd came to Dan and said, "We have been waiting for you, Eric Daniel." Dan was shocked. "I don't know who you are or what you want, but I must go," exclaimed Dan. He tried to reverse, but he didn't get past the turntable. He was turned around and saw a hideous demon on the rails, staring down at him. "Do not leave so fast, Dan. Let us sing you a song," the man said. "Run away," they all said. "Run away. Run away from home. Your new home awaits in the seven-spoked wheel." Dan started running. He went back fast so fast he couldn't see where he was going, and the man said, "Go, Borgindor, consume the non-believer." The monster came towards them, and through tunnels, over hills and bridges, he and Borgindor went. Every mile and every minute, the beast came closer and closer, until they made it into an island. They went over a bridge, through a plain, and over a rough track. Bang! Dan nearly flew off the rails, and Borgindor slowed. And as the demon's advance halted, a hand from the heavens came down to smite him from this world. The hand crashed to the ground. The demon was blown away, and Dan was covered in dirt and grime. His nameplate at the top of his windows flew off. Dan may have died that night. The murder it was. But as the phoenix, Dave came from the ashes. After his encounter with the cult of the seven-spoked wheel, Dave had it hard. He became, in practice, mute, for all he spoke was the chant they sang. Run away, run away, run away from home. And many years passed until he found an engine alike to him. Traumatized. Though that engine was as much an opposite to Dave as blue to red, their meeting changed their lives. "What's your name?" the engine said to Dan. I'm Dave. Dave, he replied. "Name's Thomas. Nice to meet you." Thomas said back. They became friends over time, always sticking out for one another. And the lantern Dan had that night, Dave has always kept that lantern. "One must respect the predecessors," he says. But maybe his brother still lives on in that lantern. And maybe, just maybe, Dave doesn't want to forget Dan.